So I'm really excited today. I'm going to be testing out this laser distance meter. Now I was sent this at no cost so that I could do this review, but I am pretty excited about it and I'm going to take it out of the box, let y'all see everything that it comes with, and then we're going to take it out to my property and test it out. So after you take the plastic off of this, which I did earlier, and you open this thing up, I mean, this comes in almost like a cell phone type of box. I mean, it's packaged really well. It does come with this manual, which I 100% recommend you read this because there is all kinds of things that this thing will do, and they're all explained in this manual. There's no way I could cover all of this in this video. But you're going to find this thing packaged. So this is the device. This is the D9 Pro, and it's got a nice glass front screen, buttons on the sides. There's a little port for you to charge it. It's even got a little flashlight in it if you need it. This is the laser beam, and this is aluminum. This is not plastic. This is plastic, this is glass, and this is all aluminum button. So, I mean, just the build quality on this thing seems really, really cool. Definitely seems like it's gonna hold up. And, well, only time will tell on that, but we're gonna try it. See, this is a laser, and this is a laser, because it just does so many different features. Anyways, then there's this case. It's got this cool little case here that zips up, and it's got a charging cable. This is a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. Looks like it's pretty decent quality there too, so charging shouldn't be a problem. And this lanyard. So it has this little, arm or hand lanyard that would go into this little piece here if you wanted to use that. I'm not a big person on lanyards, but it is there if you need it. This button here is the flashlight, and it has like high, low, and off. So that's cool. This looks like a speaker. And again, this is the laser, and that's the place you charge it. And that's the little lanyard area. Again, laser beam there, laser beam here. This is the flashlight button. I believe this was the power button. Maybe this is the power button. There it is. Sorry, that's the power button. Some of the things that this has, this is a digital level. So as you see, that little thing moves up and down as you move it. And then you're trying to get it in between the little digits there. The other thing that looked pretty cool is look like if you touch it, look at this. Now you've got this kind of like little bubble. I guess that's called bubble. Looks like a little bubble level that just tells you how you need to change it to get it zeroed out. That's neat. To go back, you just press it. Of course, as you can see right now, this is touchscreen. Then you have all of these different measurements. You can turn the laser on. I don't know if you notice it lit it up there. I can pull this back some. There's the laser. So as you see the laser beam there, you press it. It says 8 inches, 8 actually, and 1/8 of an inch. Now, you also got this little section here if you look at. So this is basically where it's taken the measurements. So this 8 inches and 1/8, 8 and 1/8 inches is from here, from the back of this to this, not from here to here. And that's because you see the little red dot or the red line is at the bottom. Now, if you want to change that, you can click it. You can say, I only want to measure from the very front. You say, okay. And now when you do it, it's 3 and 15/32 of an inch. So it definitely can go different points, and again, you can measure from different points. The reason there's points on the left and the right, all of these different points can be used to do area and just all kinds of stuff. This thing does some really crazy calculations too. Even from distances that you normally couldn't reach, you could just point it, take a measurement, turn it a little bit, take another measurement, and it takes that whole angle and everything into consideration to know how big the area is. So we're gonna go ahead and say, okay, let's stick with the front. Then, if you come over here on this side, there's 2 buttons here. One's a mode button. Yep, this is it. And you can flip through all of these different modes. Indirect height, trapezoidum, whatever that was. Triangular area, circular area, cylinder volume. And you're probably wondering, how in the world can it do these? Well, it does a lot of calculations based upon angles and how you move this thing. So if you did, I'm going to go back to just basics because some of these are just more than I can show. Come on, basic measure. So here's your single measurement. Well, if you push a button below it, Now it's got all of these within that measurement. There's a single length, there's live angle displays, indirect length, indirect height. I mean, there's just all of this stuff. So very cool. It's got so many different measurements that it can do. And this is the OK button. So, and then if you can see, it's got a really nice bright laser. So I'll see how well that does outside in the daylight, but in here with the lights on and everything, I mean, I can see it really well against the wall, against here. So if you're doing this indoors, you're gonna have absolutely no problem. But if you're outdoors, that's where we're gonna find out if that laser is super bright or not. It looks really bright, so I definitely think it's gonna be something that's gonna work well outdoors. But again, it's just got a lot of features when it comes to measurements and area and volume and all that. And it's way more than I would need probably, but I do a lot of work outside where I'm having to get measurements, and it's mostly just linear distances, but this will be so much easier, especially if it's very accurate. And it definitely looks like it's gonna be pretty accurate. Their claims are pretty good on this. So I'm gonna get this thing and I'm gonna bring a tripod, because that's very important, especially when you're doing longer distances. And it has a tripod screw back here. So if you're doing, you know, really trying to get pretty precise measurements, you're gonna wanna use a tripod with this, especially the fact of having a laser, because, you know, it might not look like a lot when you're moving it right here up close, but when you're 200 feet away, just the slightest movement of this thing is going to make that laser move a lot. So I want to have a tripod with me so that way I can make sure these measurements are as close and accurate as possible. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm out at my land and it's not a super sunny day. It's a little bit overcast, but it's a bright day outside. I am building a pad for that to the left of it. So you see the dirt there. I leveled it out. I've got a bunch of base coming in. And then we're going to build a big pad of rock underneath this to put this on top. So I'm doing some measurements, and I came over here and used this to see how far, one, it will measure accurately, and so far it's done great, but also how well the laser light shows up. So let me push this button, go in, zoom in a little. If you look at that window, I put on the window so you could see it well in the camera, but you can see the laser dot. You can see it with no problem. I can actually see it with no problem down below when I move it down. So if you look between the window and the bottom, there's a little red dot there. I don't see it very well in the camera. Between the window and the bottom is that laser dot, but I can see it with no problem with my eyes. So it definitely does fine during the day. And like I said, especially if you have something somewhat reflective, I don't know why it works so well on that window, but it just shows up with no problem on the window. I'm going to be doing some measurements with this and just see how accurate it is. So one of the features on this that I've never seen with any of these digital tape measures, and I have a couple that I use, but this one can measure distances that you can't even get to. So like from this point, if I wanted to measure how wide that tiny home is, I would be able to do a point on one edge, a point on the other edge, and it would be able to calculate how wide that tiny home is based upon the triangle that is created when it does the measurements and the movements. So it's really kind of crazy, and that's all part of these features that are in here. So let's try this point to point. So you're not supposed to touch it, it's supposed to calibrate itself. And now if it's on a tripod, I should be able to put a line on one side, a line on the other, and it's going to tell me how wide that is. All right, so I want to show you what I did with this. So this will do point to point sizes. So you saw it calibrating, and what I did is I put the laser on one side on the edge of the tiny home, and then I did the laser on the other side of the edge of the tiny home, and I wanted to see if it would tell me how wide the tiny home is from, what is this, 65 feet away. 10 feet 6 inches. So that's pretty crazy. It is 11 feet wide, the tiny home, from edge to edge. And I wasn't getting the laser right on the very edge because I wanted to be able to still see the laser. So I was going from trim to trim. I mean, this is almost exactly what I would expect it to be. I mean, it is exactly what I would expect it to be. That's crazy that it can measure this, and it's doing that because it's using a triangular formula that's measuring from where it is right now, one corner, and then it's creating the distance in between. I mean, this thing is blowing me away on all the cool things that it will do. So that's just one of the many, many awesome features this thing has. But I'm gonna go check now, is that 65 feet from here to there? I told you I knew this thing was awesome. Okay, so I had to go, if you'll notice, I got this long string tape measure here, and I had to go to actually attach it to something to the back of the tiny home with some wire because I don't have anything to attach on the sides. So I attached it to the little lock loop that's on the back where the AC gets power. And I ran it this way, and I've pulled it as straight as it can be to the end of this digital tape measure. And it says it's 64 feet 6 inches. Well, look what this says. 64 feet 6 inches. I mean, that is crazy. And the weird thing is it's just a hair off too, and I'm pulling it pretty good, and it's got 9/32. I mean, that is pretty accurate. I mean, at this point, most of my tape measures would be off, maybe a half an inch, but some of the worst ones would be an inch or two off. This thing seems to be spot on. So yeah, I mean, this thing, like I said, has amazed me. I don't know, maybe people use these all day long, but this one has been by far the coolest digital tape measure that I've ever used. Let me see what else I can play around with on this. So I'm over here playing with this, then I come in here and I start messing with the app, and this thing will record everything you do, and it will let you name it. So like where it says current distance, I mean, you just click that, and then you can edit it and call it whatever you want. I mean, let's say you went out and did 50 jobs today, and you did tons of measurements on those jobs. You can sit here and do the measurement with this. It sends it over to your phone and records it in your app, and then you can come in here and name them, and it does way more than just doing that. I mean, it lets you put in all your areas if you've got different maps, like hand-drawn plan, draw on picture. I mean, it's just got so many cool things that you can do with the app that extends the features of this tool. It's very rare that I use something like this that actually impresses me this much. So anyway, so I definitely recommend this. 2 thumbs up from me, and I hope all of this information was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Y'all take care.